It is December, and we're right around the corner from Christmas. Our customer here approached us. They just bought their son, who is a senior in high school, a 2012 Dodge Challenger, and they wanted to get a custom wrap, kind of set him out from the crowd, printed and installed for his new car, which we were more than happy to do. We thought it was a pretty cool project. Of course, everybody loves the Dodge Challenger, so we were just really excited about it. He kind of gave me the idea of what he was looking for, so I'm going to walk you guys through the entire process and let you guys see exactly how we go about doing this when it comes to design. And then further on down the road, you'll get to see some of the printing and installation. One thing I like to ask customers to do to kind of help me bridge the gap and cut down on some of the creative time is to do a Google search of vehicle wraps that they like or they think are quote unquote cool, to kind of save some of the guesswork. So this is what they came up with. They wanted to do a World War II bomber theme, and they've got like the shark eyes here. They got the eye here over the fender, and then the shark mouth, and they've got this really distressed rusted metal look, which I think is pretty cool. And this was done somewhere else, we're not sure, but I told them I felt pretty confident that we could kind of mimic that and add our own flair and style to it. So using that as a reference, we went ahead and threw this in here. This is the finished product. I've got a template here from ArtStation. It's just a real basic template, and the reason we like to do this is it gives the customer a chance to see exactly what it is that's going to be printed and installed before we print and install it, so they can make changes, they can change the color, add things, take away, so on and so forth. So I'm going to backtrack here. This is a finished product, but I'm going to backtrack and show you how I got to this point. And we're starting with our basic template. We just got the 2012 Dodge Challenger. We still got our reference up here, so it gives me an idea. One thing I like to do is go to Google Images and do a couple of searches. Some of the keywords I'll type in are, and matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and do it with you. Let's start a new tab here, Google. So they like the distressed bomber. Let's type in WW2 bomber. Google Images. Huge fan of Google. Let's type in shark, because that's one thing I noticed that they're really big on, was having that shark look. So here you go again. Google Images, an excellent resource. You got several examples here. The eyes appear to be the same. The teeth have a certain look for these bombers, and then of course they've got the metal texture on several of these images. So sometimes I'll pull a few of these for extra reference, but I've got a pretty good idea. This is actually my second bomber wrap that I've designed. So I'm going to go into a more detailed search and do rust texture. And Google Images provides some really good high resolution photos that I can use for Photoshop to kind of manipulate and put together the design. I pulled some of these out of here before, but just to give you a preview, you can see just some of the selection that you've got. So just jumping ahead a little bit, I've already gathered my images and I'll go through some of those. One that I like here is the distressed metal grunge dark scratches look. That's one. Another resource, they wanted to have the Star Army icon here. Another one is a different shade of distressed metal. And then last but not least, a rusted grunge metal type of texture that we're also going to add to here in Photoshop. So going back to our template, we kind of start from the ground up by building a solid foundation. First thing I want to do before I worry about the shark and the eyes and the army, I want to add in the background texture. So I've got here a distressed metal look. I've used a few brushes to kind of fade things in and out. That's the very bottom layer. Then I want to add my second layer of metal here. It's still kind of light and we're building up to it, and you'll see here as we go along. And then we throw in some of the fun stuff here. You've got the face of the shark, which involves the eye and the teeth here. And I actually built this in the other program, which is Adobe Illustrator, in what we call vector art. So this is actually my reference, this eye here and these teeth. I thought I could do a little bit better job with the teeth and the eye, make it look a little bit more aggressive. This is an 18-year-old kid. Of course, he's trying to turn heads. So I made the teeth just a little bit more jagged, added some extra teeth in there as well, and then just added a little bit of a meaner look to the eye. And then we're pretty much just doing a basic copy and paste back into Adobe Photoshop, which is what we end up with here. Moving further along, I wanted to add in a little bit more of a grunge and rust. So what I just did there was I turned on that layer, and if you remember, I pretty much just copy and pasted this over here, duplicated the layer, and then there's a term called filters, which adds specific effects. You can do a multiply, a darken, a dissolve, so on and so forth. And then from there, I just get a little bit deeper. They wanted it to be a little bit darker. Again, this is just a reference up here. You don't have to be spot on exact. They're just kind of pointing you in the right direction. So we're getting a little bit closer to our design that we want to have here for the customer. And then we're going to throw a little bit more of a just splatter type grunge to kind of hide this, because we don't want this to be as prominent to where it looks like a clip art cartoon and kind of goofy. We want it to look distressed and old and worn down, like this thing has just gotten out of a dogfight, so to speak. And then of course we throw in our army star here. We've worn that down and added some special brushes so it doesn't look as vibrant. And then we're going to throw in just a tad bit more rust to just bring a little bit over the top. Most rust has that orangish dark brown look to it. And then there are specific brushes that you can go to. If you go to Google Images and type in Photoshop brushes, rust, smoke, grunge, there are so many resources out there available to kind of take that design over the top. And then we actually put in some real rust. We used a filter that is different, and you can kind of see here. If I go back to normal, that's what it looks like, the normal picture of the rust. We kind of wanted to give a different color scheme and break it up. So we're going to go back and put that under, one second here, difference, there we go. And we've got our large rust spot back here. Just a little added bonus. Tad bit more grunge. And then the coup de grace, just a large rust spot here over the door. So, of course, I didn't do this in the 5 minutes that I've showed you. It took a little bit more time to put this all together, but I was able to break it down and kind of speed it up for you. But we've already actually sent this proof to the customer. They signed off on it. Their son loved it. And pretty much what we're going to do next is in the next video or clip, break it down into panels. We'll show you a little bit about the printing process, tell you about the material we're going to use, and if you guys stick around, you might even get to see it installed from all the way to the beginning to the very end. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole process in a nutshell. If you do have any other kind of questions or things of that nature, please feel free to contact us or email us. We're more than happy to answer any questions. But again, this makes a great Christmas present, birthday present, or just you know, game changer type of idea if you want to do something different that separates you from the crowd. So I appreciate you guys just tuning in and listening to what I have to say. Hopefully I wasn't talking too fast and was able to elaborate. But yeah, this is it in a nutshell. So thank you guys again.